We're in transit from being in the Chesapeake Bay over hurricane season. We're heading to Miami to stage for the Bahamas. We're off the east coast of USA, having left Beaufort, North Carolina over a day ago. Although we are heading to Miami, we may not make it that far. I was getting really cosy and drifting off for a nap when Dustin declared spinnaker weather. So we got up, and an hour and a half later, it's all up and going fine. But now I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Tell me what the story is. No. What are our options?
The options are St. Augustine or all the way to Miami. Yep. Will show that we're getting from our timings, we're getting to St. Augustine midday tomorrow. We've got to kind of wait though till after 3 o'clock to get through towards the tide.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we could head straight to Miami. The models look like they're actually going to be favourable for that run now, because they're only going to be 15 knot winds from the east rather than 20 to 25 knot winds from the east.
While the boat traffic in the area is heavier, the wind remains light, and so the spinnaker continues to fly. So are we still trying to stay ahead of some dead patch?
We are still running into that as we speak. That's why our winds have dropped quite a bit. We've got 10 knots of wind. It's not 100% that there will be a dead patch. It may not settle directly over. One model has it essentially over our area. Another model has it slightly inland and to the north. So yeah, who knows?
Okay.
We got to deal with what we got, I guess.
And when do we need to make the decision by?
We got 70 miles.
7 or 70?
70, that's 10 hours time.
How are you on the tide front? I'm okay.
I think I'll get more sleep tonight than I did last night because the winds are settling down.
And get used to it. I'm okay to Irene, Miami.
All units, Irene. I say again, Irene.
Irene!
I do want to do this St. Augustine touristy thing, like we have at every other spot that we've ended up bypassing. But there's always next season.
That's what's next year. That's what we said last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we get into this mode where we just want to get it over with, rather than going through all the prep again and losing those days.
I'll check the models again later.
Yeah.
This afternoon, and we'll make a final call then.
Yeah. Well, that dead patch has come upon us and taken our wind away. So now the engines have gone on. But as the engines are now on, the fishing rods are out. Unfortunately, we caught Reggie the remora and nothing for eating. Pretty colour. Go Reggie's. Day 2 is coming to an end. And although the weather and waters have now calmed, the engines are roaring on. It's night 2 and we are now motoring. Motors are main still up, but motors are on. We have 4 knots of wind, so it really died down, which is what the models pretty much said for forecasting. The spinnaker was up and everything was going well for hours, and then suddenly out of nowhere it just collapsed, so hit dead air. I was actually down asleep, and when the spinnaker came down it fell into the water overboard under the front of the boat. Dustin called me, but I must have woken up because I was awake downstairs for a little while and then heard the engine start. Just preceding that was the drama out the front. he said he called me, and he obviously didn't have time to rouse me again. So he ran out the front and pulled the spinnaker up and got everything sorted out and put the sock down over the spinnaker. So it all ended well and safely, but shows how quick things can change with sailing. I mean, I guess the lesson learned from that is if something is happening on the boat which is a bit tricky, like a spinnaker, it might be better just to sleep out here in the cockpit when you're not on shift. So that's the way we'll probably manage that in future. Forecasts show that about midnight we should get about 10 knots of wind, but 10 knots is that wind speed where it could be above, it could be correct, or it could be low, and if it's lower than forecasted, then we could find ourselves motoring again. So they're only forecasts, so you can only trust them to a certain degree. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. So given that coming south around Cape Hatteras, we used half of our fuel, and then we anchored outside of Beaufort in the Bight, so we didn't go in for topping up with fuel. If that forecast isn't correct and we're left needing to motor, we won't get to Miami the whole way on fuel. It would be quite a big detour back to shore to get fuel and go back out again offshore to get south. So we've decided on St. Augustine. We're going to arrive tomorrow afternoon, and that will all work with the tides. We want to go in on an ingoing tide, so we're not hitting any current coming out and hitting some waves that can be a bit dangerous. So we'll get in tomorrow afternoon, should be good fun, and we'll spend, I don't know, maybe up to a week there. That's the plan, that's all been decided, and that's where we'll end up tomorrow. It's a new day of motoring, and the fishing lines are out. We didn't rely on the weather change of coming in 10 knots for us to head to Miami, and we're about 8 hours from St. Augustine, so that was good. We're on track and not heading to Miami, motoring and worrying about where to fill up with fuel. So all is good so far. Current winds hanging around 7 or 8 knots now. It's just crept up from being about 2 to 5 knots all night. Hopefully we'll get the sail out before we hit St. Augustine and get another bit of a sail in.
It seems we've picked up a little bit of wind. We've got 15 knots at true, at 138 true. So we're able to truck along a little bit with the screecher out. 10 knots apparent. It's better than motoring.
Well, it's just 10 hours late than forecasted, but it did come.
Yeah, it's a bit late, and it's still not specifically out of the angle that it was forecasted to come. A model's just a model. They're not going to be perfect. I should know, I'm a modeler.
I was going to say some good comment. She's up. Was it he? Sammy? Sammy.
Oh.
What?
That was a bird.
Oh.
Just like flew and was it landed down there? Next to the window.
No. Or was it a flying fish again?
That was funny, it just bounced off.
How did he die? He was harpooned with a flying fish on the deck. Try that on your life insurance form. I didn't see it. To me, it didn't happen. I'm gonna get dive bombed now if I go out there like a Australian magpie in breeding season.
We can collect all the salt for Michelle and she can have authentic sea salt in her recipes. Mark will love it.
How's that, Mark? Have a whole stock of it on your boat. Finally, we're on our approach of St. Augustine Inlet. With only a mainsail up and the engines on, we are motor sailing again. Join us next time when we get off Elpis to stretch our legs on a more stable surface and get about town.